Good morning and or afternoon, depending on where you are in the country, and welcome to our monthly Pulse webinar. This is our free MAPS coaching webinar where we take deep dives into the strategies, the techniques, the subjects that will make you a better agent. I don't want to say even some of you are already elite agents that join us every single month, but really looking at it and going, how can we improve our skill set so we can provide a higher level of experience for our clients, right, who we care about. So, and also make some money. So we are going to go quick and fast. We're talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is pricing strategy, comparative market analysis, how to make sure that we're positioning and having these very delicate conversations with sellers to make sure that you're in a position to look like a hero. When I do this motion, that means the S under your chest. And so that you are having absolute success and pricing homes so you have multiple offers, you sell in a very timely manner, and the seller nets the most money possible. So as we jump into this, a couple of things, just for those that have never been on a Zoom with me or met me in person. My name is Brendan Bartic. I've been in residential real estate now for about 22 years. I have an odd obsession with listings, and it is a passion because it changed my life. I went from making $8.80 an hour to making millions of dollars by being a professional listing specialist. So I've honed this craft over the last 22 years. Last year, our organization sold just over 400 homes, $5.7 million in gross commission income. And now I have the pleasure of training and teaching and helping agents do the same. So please make sure as we get started, you have pen and paper. You are going to want to take notes and however you format that you do that. Utilize the chat box for questions that you have. You can also raise your hand and we will speak to you, on live. We'll try to save time at the end for a few minutes. And when I say few, a few minutes to answer any questions that maybe weren't covered in real time. But yeah, be here, explore, ask questions. And the only thing that I ask in every session is remove your limited beliefs. Some of us have been doing business a certain type of way for a very long period of time. We've gotten very comfortable with how we do certain things. So I always ask that you shake that little devil off your shoulder that's whispering in your ear saying, I don't think this would work where I'm at. I don't know if this strategy is, my MLS is different, Brendan. I've had this work in every state, in Canada, all over the world. We know that it works. We know that it's been proven. You just have to calm down, remove those limited beliefs, and have some fun today, right? So let's get ready to rock. Before we jump in, please make sure that anything I tell you today is for educational entertainment purposes only. That you are always, of course, recognizing all the TPCA rules. Do never call the do not call list. Anything we talk about, commissions or income or net sheets or anything else, is only for suggestion. Please check with your managing broker, your attorney, your doctor, your priest before you do anything, and make sure that you're completely safe. All right, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, we are going to jump right in. And I do apologize, I am joined by my business partner and friend, Anna McKeel. She will be assisting in the chat box. She is fantastic. She will also be jumping on at certain times with insights because she's been doing this with me for a long time as well. So as we jump in, when we're going to talk about pricing strategy and CMA, we have to understand that it is part of a complete model. And in our model, we break that down into 4 simple sections: pre-appointment, at the appointment, at the table, and then when you're at the table, the actual closing process. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into pre-appointment, making sure that 90% of you winning the listing happens before you leave to go on the appointment. And a large part of that process is making sure you have the most powerful CMA on earth. Right? So we're going to go into that in detail. We'll be answering questions and have a lot of fun while we do it. All right, so When we talk about pre-appointment, what we're going to be focusing on today is the preparation needed to make sure that you excel. So we're going to be talking about the concept of signing the seller, not the house, how to deliver a powerful pricing strategy, and then we're going to give you a very simple pre-appointment checklist, what we call our pack. Don't ever forget your pack before you leave to go on this appointment. So we're going to talk about what we do to really make sure that you're in a position to leave with confidence, to have difficult pricing conversations with sellers, right? We know every seller believes that their house is usually worth more money than unfortunately the market is willing to bear for it. So how do you navigate that? How do you present the information in a way that is going to objection block instead of having to handle objections? So we really have to start with understanding that concept first of signing the seller, not the house. And when I start with that, what I want you to really think about is when you're on the phone and you're setting the appointment and you're talking to any seller, we're trying to identify, who am I meeting with? Who is the person that I'm going to be sitting across from the table having this very powerful conversation with that could leave me leaving that meeting earning $10, $20, $50, $100,000. Sometimes our mindset is, I'm going over there to explain how much their home is worth, show them all the magical things that I do to get their house sold, show them my track record, show them this, show them that. That is not how you win this game. What we're doing is building a relationship. We're building a friendship a lot of times, and we're going to be in partnership with this seller to get them the absolute best price with the least amount of friction. That's what our goal is for every person that we work with. So in doing this, we've got to make sure that we're really clear on that concept. And in starting that first concept out, we always want to start, before we even start researching the property and doing our CMA, with researching the seller. Because I want to know if this seller is an accountant. I want to know if this seller is an interior designer. I want to know if they have kids, if they don't have kids, if they have dogs, cats, if they like the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they like all these different things. Because if I'm able to build trust and rapport on this appointment, and that is what we have to do, we have to be a specialist at building instant trust and rapport, then they're going to trust me to understand my pricing strategy. See, without having that rapport and that trust, if I'm sitting here and I'm in an argumentative position with a seller going, I know you want 650, but the market is telling us 600, and I haven't built any type of friendship or trust, they're going to look at this and go, we're now adversaries instead of partners. And we want to be partners in this. So the way that we do that is we learn about the person that we're going to meet with, just like we would a $1 million job interview. And we want to be really clear that they have personality styles, right? We've got tiger, dolphins, turtles. We've got all kind of the disc profile. And I'm going to custom tailor my process to the people that I'm meeting with, because there is never a one size fits all. There are some standards, and we have bumpers on how you do this and some best practices. But when you're really at the ninja level of this and you're really rocking this at the highest level, you're a consultant. And a consultant comes with data. Consultant comes with facts. Consultant comes with the information that you're going to utilize to explain to them what they need to know so they can make an educated decision. And that's all we're trying to do, is help sellers make an educated decision. So please don't forget that this is such an important piece of your initial process before you even begin to look at the pricing strategy. Research the seller, know who you're meeting with. All right, now, preparing for a powerful pricing strategy. So we know that there's a number of steps that we take, and I want you to start thinking about yourself as an airline pilot. You're sitting down, you're about to take off, and you have a checklist of all the little buttons and things you need to flip to make sure that you're going to have a very successful flight and get everybody there safely and land that beautiful plane in our world, key in our hand, signature on our agreement. To do that, we have to, just like any professional, have a checklist and a process so we don't miss anything. And a lot of times I've worked with agents and I've been in our office, and here's what happens. We get a listing appointment. We're like, I got a listing appointment. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Then we run around and tell everyone in the office that we've got an appointment. Then we go, okay, I got to go try to work on the comps. Then you spend 3 hours working on comps. You call me, you call your friends, you call everyone else going, what do you think this could sell for? I ran the comps. This is a toughie. I don't know. What do you think? And we spend 5 to 6 hours at times trying to get ready to go on one appointment, because getting ready to go on an appointment is a lot more fun at times than doing what we know we should be doing, which is lead gen and getting ready for the next appointment. See, when you're making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million plus as a professional listing specialist, you're going to be spending the least amount of time as possible getting ready to go on appointments because you have a system, and you're going to spend the most amount of time possible building relationships. So that's why we have to streamline this process, okay? So, selling factors. Before we start to price properties, we have to understand a simple concept that so many people still struggle with on what our role is as a listing agent. And so when we're preparing our CMA, we have to be extremely comfortable of understanding that the only two things that affect a home selling are price, money, and time, right? Price and time, money and time. What I mean by that is if you price any property low enough, it will sell. I don't care what the condition, I don't care how disgusting it smells, I don't care if the person smoked in it for 60 years. I went to one house, they had 120 snakes in the house, and it smelled like rats and snakes, and it was terrifying, and I was scared the entire time I was there. But even that house, and of course they asked me, they were like, do you think we should remove the snakes before we sell? Right? Even that house will sell at the right price. The second factor is time. You give any home or property enough time, or land, enough time to sell at a certain price, it will sell, right? If I price a property $100,000 over market value right now, it might take 2 years for that price to get to where it's at, right? We all agree prices continue to go up historically over a period of time. It might take 5 years, it might take 10 years. What we're trying to do as professional listing specialists is make sure that we're focused on knowing how to maximize the shortness of time to make sure that we get the highest price possible. All right? So make sure you're very clear on that. Now, when we start to get into setting up our pricing for our market analysis, our comparative market analysis, our CMA, we have to have a concept that is so clear in our mind that as we're evaluating all of the comparables, and I'm going to talk about a lot of this today, as we're weighing all of the information, we're going to identify the price that we know this home would sell for in 24 hours or less. Guaranteed, no matter what. Now, as you can see on the visual, this is a video of a Pomeranian. I own a Pomeranian. His name is Godzilla. Well, I should say my wife owns a Pomeranian named Godzilla. And so what I want you to think about is anything you love on earth. That could be your dog, your cat, your significant other, your grandma. And I want you to think about, as you're doing this pricing strategy, that I've got Godzilla, little cute fluffy Godzilla sitting here, and if I don't have a buyer for this house at this price in 24 hours, Godzilla is getting a bullet in his head. Now, I know that is a graphic image, right? And little Godzilla's brain splattering all over the floor. But I want to put that image into your mind to make sure that you understand the seriousness of why this is so important. We're not trying to go, I think it could sell for this. I don't know, if the right buyer came along, maybe it could get to 625. I don't know. What do you think, Susie? No. A powerful pricing strategy goes into this going, this is where I would stake my beautiful Godzilla's life on it, that this home would sell in 24 hours, period, end of story. Okay? So please make sure you're clear on this. It's not a what if, it's not a possible, it is end all. You would stake something you care about's life on it. When you start with that mindset of pricing, and when you're so clear and you can see it, the rest of this is now going to be explaining to the seller how to get them from fantasy land to realityville, right? Right? That's what we're trying to do. Remember, who sets the value for the home? The buyer. The buyer is the only person that sets the value for this product, right? No matter what, if no buyer comes, house isn't worth anything. If some buyers come and don't make an offer, it's telling us that the buyers don't feel like it's a strong enough value to make an offer. If we have a ton of buyers come and they make multiple offers and the price gets driven up, then that's telling us what the market's willing to bear for that property. Okay? So yeah, right, taco salad. We had another dog in one session and his name was Taco, and yeah, he becomes a taco salad. We don't want taco salads. We don't want little Taco becoming a taco salad, right? We want Godzilla to be around for a long period of time, but use that visual in your mind in your pricing strategy. All right, the next thing, what is a CMA and what is it not? A CMA is a very simple tool that helps examine comparable properties in the same area. It helps us to determine current market value. And then it's a powerful tool to help establish, and please write this down, an initial asking price. It's not to establish a final sales price. It's not to establish a list price. It's an initial asking price. Initial asking price. That is, with the right strategy and the rest of our, our program and everything else we do, that is going to go up dramatically to set record-breaking prices for that particular property and that property's particular condition, okay? So we've got to be really clear on what it is and then making sure what it's not. A CMA is not an appraisal. A CMA is not a to-the-penny exact calculation of how much a property is worth in today's market. The only thing a CMA is utilized for is to develop a pricing strategy to attract buyers to come and see this home. You do it too high, no one comes. You do it way too low, and people ask me all the time, well, Brendan, what if the market value is 600? Can I list it at 400? The answer is yes. The absolute answer is yes. Well, won't people only offer 405, 450, 490? We don't know, right? What we're trying to look at is, and I'll talk about that. I wouldn't do that. And I'm going to talk about some tools on where your mindset should be with that. But we're trying to, of course, open up the property to as many segment of buyers as possible so that they can come in, build competition, build social proof, build urgency, really funnel everyone that we possibly can through on our initial launch weekend, meaning when we launch that property, so that during that time, we maximize the ability to get the most activity on this property possible. Some of our strategies that agents have utilized in the past is, we'll set a price, and if we don't get buyers, we can always just come down later. That strategy, and I'll show you some statistics here in a moment, work against the seller. Every day, and you can write this statement down, I use it all the time on listing appointments, every day the home is on the market, it becomes a depreciating asset. Just like you have this Ferrari, you drive that brand new Ferrari off that car lot, that Ferrari was 400 grand driving it off the lot. Soon as it leaves the lot, I'm talking the second it leaves the lot, that Ferrari's worth 300,000. okay? So it's a similar concept. And some of you right now, that little devil on your shoulder is going, well, what if it's a classic car and it actually retains its value and it goes up? I'm talking about 99% of the time, my analytical friends, 99% of the time. I hope we can all agree, cars depreciate as soon as they're driven off the lot, okay? So that's the same mindset we have to have in this situation, all right? Now, in any powerful CMA, comparative market analysis, we have 6 sections: buyer attraction pyramid, public record report, an aerial map, comps in a photo one-pager, single line stat page, and a time on market graph. I'm going to show you an individual of each of these. Now, I always state this, I've used every CMA technology on earth, Cloud CMA, CMA Genie, all of these different tools. None of them have been able to deliver the information that I need at ready, right? Remember, in a powerful pricing strategy, you're not going to be showing everything at once, right? Some of you, I've gone on listing appointments after other agents have been on an appointment, and they have a 3-ring binder with a market analysis that is 180 pages deep that talks about the history of the property since it was built in 1912 to when it sold 16 times over the last 90 years, the weather at the time that it sold. That is not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to go, when we put this property on the market, are we going to be in the number one position that is going to attract in our category, class, and style the most amount of people to come see our listing and buy ours instead of our competition? That's what we're trying to make sure that we establish, right? That's what we're trying to do here. And we have different tools that we utilize that are needed at different times to help guide the seller to understand that. And that's what we do, all right? So the first tool is our buyer attraction pyramid, okay? Now, I've used this document, I think for, I would say at least 15 years, and it's one of my favorite visuals that I utilize during the listing appointment to help explain to sellers. Remember, sellers, they might have sold 2 houses in their life, no houses in their life. It might have been 15 years since the last time they sold or bought a home. It might be just a week ago if they're an educated investor, but I do this with investors, I do this with everyone. And when you're looking at this, we call it the buyer pyramid. It's to set the expectation with the seller and the goal to make sure that the pricing conversation is accurate and to show the potential risk of overpricing it, all right? So here's what it looks like. Now, in the middle, you see that there's a line that states market value, okay? And so again, you have this in your listing presentation, right? It's a simple one-pager. You can have it on nice paper. You can have it laminated. You can have it in your actual value proposition if you want. There's a number of ways to do this. I like it as an individual piece of paper, and I don't like it laminated because I write on it, okay? And when I'm in a presentation, you got to remember, it's a presentation. It's visual. It's drawing somebody's attention. It's pointing out certain things. It's writing on it. It's not just show and tell, this goes away. Show and tell, this goes away. So I have ways that I like it from doing thousands of listing appointments and the nuances that I kind of learned of what worked and what didn't work over time. But you're going to have to play around with it. You're going to have to practice it in front of someone and make sure that you feel comfortable. But the concept of this is when you look at market value, and I'm presenting this to a seller, and remember, I'm presenting this upside down to them. I pull out this page and I go, Deborah, one of the things as we start to create a powerful pricing strategy is to make sure that you understand that we don't want to be above market value, right? We don't want to be at the tip of this triangle, because if we do, as you can see, no one will come and see it. For every 10% we're over market value, you can see how much of a percentage of buyer pool that we lose. Less buyers, less competition, lower offers, or no offers at all. Now you see where the market value is line. Now, if we are at or right below market value, and what I call the sweet spot, and I draw on the right below market value in the middle, This is where we're going to be able to attract the largest amount of buyer interest in your property, get everybody in the door, and then they're going to drive up the price based upon what the market's willing to bear for the condition of your home and the current market conditions. Okay? So this is very powerful. Now, you can slap your logo on it. You can do whatever you want with it, whatever you want. If you're looking for this document, I believe we're going to be putting it in our Pulse Facebook group. Just go to pulsepoweragent.com or Pulse Power Agent on Facebook, and we'll have that document available for you there. All right? Now, the next piece is your public record report. Okay? So when we talk about public record report, I need a simple one-pager that highlights all of the components of the property so I can show them above ground square footage, finished square footage. Now, I know every MLS looks different, and this is not a pretty looking document. I utilize this style because I don't want it to be pretty. I want it to look organic. I want it to look like it's from the MLS. I want it to look like I'm a specialist and I have special information. I know with other, nothing dogging out other CMA providers, right? I know they try to make everything cutesy and easy. I have found that my sellers don't respond as well to that because they don't believe that it's authentic, right? And maybe not authentic is the wrong word. It's not like it came right from the source. So when you have this document, I highlight the most important things that you're seeing listed here below. And I'm confirming all of these details with the seller. Now, of course, you're going to use this. And if anybody knows a tax record report or a public record report, a lot of times there's wrong information on it, right? So we're doing a portion of our entire series that we have in this entire concept called List Like a Boss. But we're doing a portion of it right now, which is just the CMA section. In the prior sessions, you're going to have what's called a seller profile. And on the phone, you would have asked them a series of questions to confirm the information that they're telling you versus the information that's on the public record report. So never price your property just only trusting the data on here. There's a lot of times where it could definitely be incorrect. And then if we can put the link to Pulse in the chat box, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. And Kim, thanks for joining us. So we'll do that, okay? Now, the next piece, and we're gonna have a lot of things for you after this in that Facebook group. So now we have our public record report. The next thing we're going to do is we're gonna research the property. Remember, we researched the seller. I wanna know who I'm working with because the house can't sign the agreement. Write that down. The house can't sign the agreement, so we got to research the seller. Now we're going to research the property. Now, the first thing I do is I'm going to go and look at Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, all of these available Google pricing analytics. Why? Not because I have it has no implication on what I'm going to price it at, so Godzilla doesn't have his taco salad incident, right? I'm going to make sure that I know what it's going to be priced at. But you got to remember, the seller is getting inundated with information. Maybe they're on a HomeBot. Maybe they're on some other sort of document. Maybe they're getting a market report or they were getting some sort of aggregated information. Or they just Googled, what's my home worth? And Zillow goes, blah, based on a computer. So we got to know what they're thinking so that we know probably where their mindset's going to be. And so we can have a strategy to close that gap and get them from Fantasyland to Realityville, right? And that's our job. The next thing, of course, we want a street view. So I go on a Google Street View. I want to know if it's next to a crack house, if it's next to a Burger King, if it's next to two beautiful homes that are absolutely gorgeous. And my comparable happens to be the donkey, right? I want to make sure I know what this property looks like. Then I'm going to do an aerial view. So with that aerial view, of course, on our aerial view, we're looking to see what it backs up to, power lines, a pond, a golf course, another house, because this is all going to matter in our analysis. If one house backs up to a beautiful unrestricted view of the mountains and one home backs up to another house, would there be a pricing consideration? Of course there would be, right? Of course there would be. So, and then we're going to review the one-page public record report. Okay. So when you're doing this, you might be like, gosh, this sounds like it's going to take me forever. It's literally like boop, 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 boop. It's seconds when you're doing this. Now, please write this down. 1 CMA a day keeps bankruptcy away. To get good at this, we need to be doing a CMA a day every single day of our life. Well, not every day. During our work days, right? Take time off, enjoy your world. But every day, whether you have a listing appointment or not, send that CMA to a client, email it to them, mail it to them. But if you're going to be a professional in this business, a large percentage of your value is analyzing data and comparables to be a master consultant to help sellers make the best decision, to put them in the best position to get the best price in the shortest period of time with the least amount of friction. Okay? But it takes practice. When I was a real estate assistant making $8 an hour, I was my mentor and the person that I worked for, she was a top listing agent. I was doing probably 3 to 4 CMAs a day. She would go on anywhere from 10 to 12 listing appointments a week. So that's an option for some of you. Maybe become an assistant to a top producing listing agent, or just start to practice. But for some of us, and we know this from our stats, in the metro area, we have 18,000 plus agents. Out of 18,000 plus agents, only 781 are listing and selling more than 10 homes a year. 781 out of 18,000 plus. So this is what happens, is because we're not building a business based on sellers, we don't get into this rhythm. So when we finally get a listing appointment, whether it's once a month, twice a month, we go, now I got to think through all this. And then you go and call me and call everybody and ask us, what do you think about the price? Now, the inherent value that you'll receive from doing 1 CMA a day, we call it an unsolicited CMA. You're going to be putting CMAs in front of people, and then they might start thinking, wow, maybe we should sell. Or maybe I should call and ask you about what I think our home is worth in today's market. All of those things can happen. So you're going to get a double benefit from it. And you're going to get faster, better, and more efficient. All right? So now we have to evaluate pricing impacts. Okay? Now, I know we have people from all over the country here and in Canada, and I believe maybe 1 or 2 from Mexico. So welcome, welcome. But every place is going to be different. I'm just using these as examples, right? When we talk about pricing impacts, mountain properties, right? We're going to be talking about land. We're going to be talking about views. We're going to be talking about water rights. We're going to be talking about, does it have a stream, and can you do this? And all of these different things, of course, are factors. But don't go into analysis paralysis. You're not trying to spend 6 hours on a pricing strategy. What you're doing is you're looking at the data and you're going, okay, if someone had $500,000 to spend on a mountain property right now in today's market, I've looked at the actives, I've looked at the pendings, I've looked at the closed, based on the information that's in front of me, so Godzilla lives, guaranteed this property will have a lot of activity at said price. That's all we're trying to do. Now, I deal with horse properties, and we've got different riding rings and barn and all of the tack rooms and all of these things. And it's like, well, how much value do you put on the fact that mine has a 12 stall than an 8 stall? And maybe I've ridden a horse once in my life. I don't know squat about horses. I don't know squat about the country. I look like when I show up, I dress like I'm going to like Yellowstone, like when I mean that the TV show, like I try to get my Costner look on. All I know is I've got data, and I'm trying to create the best possible ability to have the right funnel to make sure that the most amount of people come and see this property. And I know some of you are struggling with this right now. I know you are, right? This is not an appraisal. It will never be an appraisal because you're not trying to set a price that the bank is going to loan on, okay? So we're looking at information, and we're trying to use common sense. So other things to consider, and I do want to point this one out. A busy street. Now, when I call a busy street, this could mean it's on a highway, a fairway. I don't want you to only think about busy street. Let's go back to our home aerial conversation that we were having. If a property has beautiful, nothing backing up to it, it looks at a park, and another home that you're listing happens to back up to another home, and it's in the same neighborhood, and your seller thinks that the other home, and remember, Zillow's algorithm is bringing your home value up because it might say that, well, the last three that sold backed up to the park, but your home backs up to another home. What I want you to do is you're going to go into the MLS, look at all of the homes that have sold in either the last 12 months or 24 months, depending on the data that you need, and figure out what all of those homes sold for on average as a price per square foot. Then I want you to go into the MLS and take all of the homes that have sold in the last 6, 12, or 24 months that have sold that have backed up to another home. What you'll find 99% of the time, and I know sometimes it doesn't happen, but there's a 1% chance, you're going to see that homes that backed up to the park sold for $350 a square foot. Homes that backed up on average to another home sold for $300 a square foot on average. So now you know that there's a $50 square foot difference on average for homes that overlook a beautiful park versus homes that back up to another house or a super target or a train or a whatever. So when I say busy street, you can use this in a number of ways. Busy street versus homes that are not on a busy street in the same neighborhood. Homes that back up to a train versus homes that don't back up to a train. I hope that concept makes sense. It's a very powerful tool because you're going to get sellers all the time being like, the house 6 doors down, Brendan, sold for $650, and you're telling us market value is $600. First of all, I'm not telling you anything, sir. I'm just telling you what the data is showing us. And what you can see is that there's a very big difference for homes that back up to a beautiful park versus homes that back up to another home. But your home is very beautiful, but there's a $50 square foot on average difference for those types of properties. Okay? High rises, if we're in condos, high rise buildings, right? We got to be very clear on this. I use this example all the time. In downtown Denver, the Four Seasons residence, the penthouse suite, they have a western facing in Colorado and an eastern facing. The western facing suite has unobstructed views of the mountains. It's gorgeous. I mean, sunsets, beautiful. The eastern facing penthouse, because it splits in the building, it faces the other side, huge penthouse, has a view of like, in our Colorado, Aurora, like a city. That's actually where I'm from. I can make fun of it. Not a very beautiful area. Let's just say that. No offense to people that live in Aurora, right? I grew up there, right? The difference in those two selling, the western facing one, 10 million, eastern facing, 5 million. $5 million difference for a view. So I say that to make sure that you're understanding the impact of when you're looking at these properties, that you don't just take an aggregate of everything that's sold in a building and go, well, based on this, that, blah, 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 should be fine. No, there's differences. Of course, there's also differences on the floor, right? Units that sell on the second floor and have a view of the parking lot versus units that sell same square footage on the 50th floor and don't have a view of the parking lot. There's going to be a difference there. So we got to make sure we're just always prepared on how we provide that data. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, Aurora's come a long way. That is for sure. So consider that. And then golf course. Does it back up to the golf course? Does it back up to another home? I think you're getting the concept. Be very aware because view matters. In my own neighborhood, there are properties that have views of power lines that sell for $400,000 less than the property 3 or 4 homes down that doesn't have a view of the property line. It has that kind of impact, okay? All right, next component, we have to have an aerial map. The aerial map, and this is in every MLS, and you might be thinking, well, I don't know if my MLS has this. It probably does. I'm pretty sure it does. If not, figure out the best you can do with it. We have an aerial map so we can talk apples to apples and not apples to oranges. Zillow doesn't know whether you live in Dumpster Hills or Luxury Hills, two neighborhoods split by one road. We've got to be very clear in understanding that pricing concept that the seller might be going, well, Zillow said this. Well, it's like, well, you live in this neighborhood, homes in this neighborhood, because of the amenities and the type of properties, they sell for X. So make sure that the seller sees the location of the comps, differences in lot location and size, and has a good understanding of what we're talking about, and also why you selected certain comparables, okay? Now, when we're looking at comparable properties, right, as we're putting this together, there's some things that we try to have guidelines on to make sure that we're available. Now, I know there's challenging properties out there. I deal with them all the time. Brendan, there hasn't been a home that's sold in this neighborhood for 12 months. Brendan, there's not another active even out there. This house is in the middle of I had one the other day that was in the middle of a national forest. And it was like this random grandfathered property. And I know some of our mountain people on here, they're like, yep, we've dealt with those, right? And it's on like sacred land and you have to have a permit and all these things. I understand that. In that instance, you're still trying to do the best that you can. You're either going to have to go further back or further out to help explain to the seller what they do. Here's the one thing I warn you on, and I've seen so many of you bring this to my attention. You go, Brendan, well, the property sold in 1997 and the rate of inflation was this. And so the aggregate average price went up in this area by this. And you're trying to do a mathematical calculation on what happened in the market. Just because certain things go up in a market overall doesn't mean everything goes up on average. So I'd be very weary to price that way. What we're pricing it is put your buyer goggles on. What would a buyer pay for this property versus the competition that is out there currently? That is what we're really trying to focus on. Supply and demand. Supply and demand. The rest of this is tools to give us the best overall strategy to deliver to the seller. So when we're looking at comps, we are looking at sold in the last 6 months. This is the guideline for preferably, right? The reason for sold in 6 months is because an appraiser can't use comps from older than 6 months. So we know that right now in our area, only 10% of all real estate transactions are being purchased with cash. That means that your property is going to have a 90% chance of being purchased with a loan. So if we're using comps from a year and a half ago, and the appraiser can only use comps from 6 months ago or newer, you're going to have an obviously discrepancy there. And I always explain that to the seller, okay? Year built, if your home is 2024 and you're trying to use comps from a house that's a scrape in 1912, be careful on how you're making that. If you're doing bi-level versus tri-level versus ranch versus two-story, if I have a two-story comp and the only other comps that sold were ranches, I can obviously use those comps, but I'm also going to look back and see the last time that two stories sold and get an average of what two-story homes sold for versus ranches or ranches with a walkout basement to see if there was any difference in average of price per square foot. Do people love a tri-level floor plan? I don't know. I don't. I can tell you that much. No offense if you live in a tri-level. It's not my dream to walk into a landing and be hit with 4 levels of stairs. It was super cool back in the day, but it's not my favorite type. So when you're looking at it, it's what the market is craving right now, right? Lot size, what does it back up to? Community, we talked about all those things, okay? Anna, do we have any questions I should be addressing as we're moving forward?
No, we're all set. And folks, just as a reminder, I'm putting the link to our Pulse Facebook group in the chat box. That's where you can access the buyer pyramid. He's about to get to the time on market graph, as well as the pre-appointment checklist. So we've got a full suite of resources in there. Go ahead and check the link out in the chat box.
Yes, you can borrow Godzilla anytime. Take them as much as you want, please. All right, photo one pager. Next piece is I've got comps, and then my simple comps are highlighted, right, with the pertinent information, because remember, I'm going to be reading upside down when I'm presenting them if needed. Here's the thing that some of us do. I can't warn you enough. Do not overload them with your data if they don't need the data, right? So in our process, in our List Like a Boss system, we go through our powerful pricing strategy. We take down what we call our seller preferred terms. And I ask the seller, what would you like to sell your home for? Or what would you, excuse me, gosh, now you got me doing it. What would you like to set the initial asking price for your home? They tell me a number, or they go, what do you think? And I go, it's not what I think, it's what you want. What is it that you want for your home? I never disagree with them. I never challenge them on it. I take the full order and I go, when's the closing date? What would you like to include and exclude? What would you like to put as the earnest money deposit, if that's what you guys do in your area? I go through all of this and I take the order and I smile the entire time, no matter how crazy their number is. Then all I do is I go, I appreciate, so again, $650 for the initial asking price. Susie, would it be fair that I completed a completely detailed market analysis? I would just like to review a few of these comparables and some of that data to make sure that you have a very powerful pricing strategy so that we can get you exactly what you want. Now, I pull it out no matter what they say, based on the document that I think I need, based on our conversation. Remember, I've already built trust with them. I've toured the home. I've built rapport. We're down like 4 flat tires, like we're homies, like we're kicking it there. I asked for a glass of water before when I sat down at the kitchen table. If you've never been to one of our full programs, come to one of our full programs. We'll explain all those components. But there's a lot of psychology in this that leads up to this point. So I'm not just pulling out all of these components and going, ba 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 ba. No, right? You're going to lose people. The tiger doesn't care, meaning the high driver. They're going, just get me what is it and what should I be doing? The dolphin is going to be talking to you about the new floors they put in, everything else. And then the turtle may want you to go through every piece of these tools, right? So we have different types of personality styles. Do not shove a turtle presentation down a tiger's throat. You're not going to be there very long. Okay? All right. So photo one pager. And the reason for the photo one pager is so if they continue to go on and on about this, that, and that of their home and how it's staged so beautifully, and you can pull this out and very nicely go, all right, so taking a look at this property, these are the photos of it. Are you familiar with this one? No, I'm not. So based on this, they have wood floors. Looks like they also have a hot tub. They also back up to the park. Can I just ask you, Shannon, based on you reviewing this, do you feel like this home is similar to yours, better than yours, or maybe not as nice in yours based on these photographs here? I don't do this on every comp, but I will sometimes do it on every comp. And then they'll be like, yeah, I kind of see what you're saying, but they have granite and we have Corian. Oh, you're right, you do. That's a good point. And I make a note, right? All I'm trying to do is get them from Fantasyland to Realityville, and I'm always a consultant, I'm always on their side, I'm always a friend. But the photos help do that when you're going through this with a specific property or specific comparable. And then my favorite document on all of the earth is the single line stat page, right? Every MLS is different, everything that you have is different. All you're doing is trying to get on a one page, 3 actives, 3 pendings, and 6 closed, if available, right? If it's not, then maybe you have 1 active, 2 pendings, 3 closed. Do not throw other weird things into your single line stat page that don't make any sense because it's going to throw off everything. So I use this because this page takes everything from being emotional to black and white. And it gives me the ability to talk about actives and why they're not selling in their days on market, pendings, meaning that somebody's put an offer on this, the average days on market, and if they did any price adjustments along the way to get to that price, then closed. Now, in this perfect example, I wanted to show you a real one that I've used to list and sell a property on, right? 3 actives, a bunch of pendings because it was a hot market right at that moment, and there was a lot of comparables that were helping me justify my case. And then the recent closed, no further back than 6 months. So now when I'm looking at this, I can have conversations of going, well, you want 650 and you're 2,000 square feet. $650,000 divided by 2,000 square feet equals X. And I don't have my calculator in front of me, and I'm not that smart to do that in my brain. But let's say that that's $450 a square foot. So you're wanting to be at $450 a square foot. Well, right now in the market, the pendings are averaging, just going under contract, and we don't know what they're going to sell for, $400 a square foot. And then the sales, those sales are at $380 a square foot. So John, Susie, I care about you. I want to make sure you're in a great position to win. how am I going to explain to the buyers, or how should we explain to the buyers the $80 difference a foot for your home versus the others? Can you walk me through that, please? Okay. So it gives you power. There's so much data, or so much power in data, right? Data is everything, okay? What type of printer do we use? I don't know. I have a HP 1500. I don't know. It's not a magical printer. Yeah, it's a great question though. You want this information to be clean. Maybe your office is not as good. I always do everything in color. That's why I only do a single photo report instead of a multi-page photo report. I know some of these listings can have 65 pictures, and so I'm eating up 7 pages of photos. And again, I'm cost, concerned. So usually I can get it across. If I feel like I need to have more photos, then do it. If you really feel like this is the closest comp to them and you really want to highlight it, pop for the extra 20 cents a colored copy, whatever you want to do, okay? And then lastly, our time on market graph, okay? So this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful one-pager helps take us through this conversation of, well, why don't we just try high and come down later? Or we're in no rush, Brendan. If we find the right buyer, we'll sell. Or you know what? Our home is very unique, Brendan. So it's gonna take the right buyer, and we expected that could take some time. Please write this down. One of my favorite lines in all of real estate. I appreciate that, but here's my concern. I appreciate that, but here's my concern. I appreciate that, but here's my concern. I want to drive that home. Here's my concern. As you can see, currently right now here in our market, that if you're on the market 0 to 7 days, you have the best opportunity of getting 100% or more of your asking price. As soon as we get to 18 to 14 days, you see that drop. And as we start to get further and further, 29, 40, 50 plus days, when you get to 50 plus days in our market, 15% difference from original list price to final sales price. So that means if you were listed at $1 million, on average, you're receiving $850,000. Now, Susie, I don't want to put you in a position to lose $150,000. Or if their home is $500,000, $75,000, right? Whatever the aggregate is. And here's the reason why. Every day we're on the market, you become a depreciating asset. Buyers look at this and they go, if the property's amazing and it's hot, it should have sold fast like all the other ones that were hot that sold fast. Now, as it starts to get a little bit longer and stale, well, there must be a reason why buyers didn't make an offer on that house. I wonder why. Why has it been here for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks? Now, your analyticals, you're going, but Brendan, the average days on market in my neighborhood are 68 days. That's because there was terrible agents that allowed that to happen. I'll be very honest with you. Right? Oh, there was no buyers. There's always a buyer at the right price. Okay? Now remember, a lot of your sellers are also buyers. So now anything that happens, it's going to affect them on the other side, unless they're moving from a really weird part of the country to another weird part of the country. It's all relative in this entire situation. So I want to make sure we're clear that time is your enemy. Time is your enemy, okay? All right, we see you, Jan. We'll make sure we get it to you. We'll put it in the Facebook group as well. And it's powerful, right? This is a powerful. We want to maximize the most amount of people through your home in the shortest amount of time so you receive the highest net value for your property, okay? This is critical. Now, we just went through a variety of tools, right? A series of tools. As I said, you can have them loose leaf, you can bind them together if you want to have it in a certain type of display. I have them in a very, simple folder inside my Padfolio. And again, with practice, you're gonna have all of these ready to be utilized when you need it. So if I think, hey, if I'm doing my pricing analysis and I know there's a comp that's the exact comp as theirs, I mean, it just sold 2 weeks ago, it's identical, time on market was 9 days, it sold for this versus that, obviously I'm going to highlight that comparable. If it's a very unique property and there's no comparables that really set it, I'm probably not going to go through comps that much because their home is so unique, it's not going to matter. I'm going to use averages. I'm going to use what's available on the market right now that's competing against them for a buyer, what we call an AMA, an active market analysis. I'm going to go much more down that. If I can tell they're super turtle, they're like an engineer, an accountant, that single line stat page is fire. It is going to help them logically get their brain wrapped around the concept of average above ground square footage, finished square footage, different types of things, and go, okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we really can't be $80 more a square foot than anyone else, or we're going to sit on the market like these actives are. Okay, Brendan, I get that. Ding, ding, ding. My brain is registering that. Thank you. And again, I like it on loose leaf paper because I'm drawing on it. I'll put smiley faces, I'll circle things, I'll draw arrows down or arrows up. I do all of these things because numbers are boring. Analysis is boring. I've got to bring this to life. Now, people know one of my pet peeves is your hands, right? I have beautiful hands. I'm just kidding. I don't have beautiful hands, but I think about my hand presentation. I don't have dirty nails. I don't have 6 rings that say DJ Master Flash. I don't have 14 bracelets. I don't have fingernails that are literally able to kill a mountain lion, that have rainbow bright sparkles on them. I don't have any of that. I am neutral and boring like Pottery Barn. You know why? Because people like neutral and boring, because it's about them, not you. So make sure your hand presentation, your dance that you're doing on that table, you got hairy knuckles, shave them. You got hand tattoos, I don't know. Good luck. You're going to be fine. You'll have a market for that, I'm sure. There's nothing wrong with hand tattoos. It's not like you can never sell real estate. I'm just joking to bring home this point, but be careful about your presentation because you're making a relationship and they're judging every single thing about you. Everything. The watch you wear, the cologne you have on, and hopefully you don't have on cologne because some of you Axe body spray yourself to death and I can't breathe in the appointment, right? Everything is being considered. Be neutral, be a chameleon. They'll be thinking about them. They'll be like, you know what? I don't know what it was about that guy, but I just really like him. He seemed really just easygoing. He was nice. He had beautiful hands, and let's sign the agreement. I'm joking, but in a way, I'm being very honest. Okay? All right. Now, let's put it all together. You have some options. You can do this digitally, and I warn you, when doing this digitally, until you're ninja level, and I mean absolute elite specialist level, it is very difficult to do this digitally with a laptop or a PowerPoint or a iPad, any of that, right? Because technology glitches, you're trying to flip through things, it gets complicated, you can't write on it. I know people that sell hundreds and hundreds of homes every year that do it digitally. They're masters of it. They know the neighborhood inside out. They use the comps to just kind of show them. I'm just telling you, my preference is to do it hard copy if possible. How you bind things together, your market analysis, right? It is going to be a presentation. So make sure if you're going to do anything, you have a cover page, a back page, if you're not going to do it loose leaf. You have a nice folder with your company or your name or your logo on it, so you look like a professional. You have a pad folio, right? You're not coming in with your over-the-shoulder backpack and you're throwing it on their kitchen table and trying to display information to them. And I have seen it all, and I have seen that, okay? The last piece, you've got your pre-appointment checklist, right? We're about to take off. We've done the work. We want to do a final check down. Boom, right? Now you're seeing our entire checklist for a listing appointment. So some of this is going to be applicable to you. Some of it's not until you see the entire program all the way through. You'll notice things on here like pocket calculator. You'll notice things on here that you're like, what the heck would I need that for? You're going to be doing net sheets and math and talking about pricing and square footages. So sometimes our phone is gross or weird or has pictures coming in that are inappropriate when we're going to talk to a seller. So we want to make sure that we're covering all of those pieces. Now, create your own. Make sure you have your checklist for how you do things, right? But you can use ours as an example to help you understand how to put all of this together, okay? So never leave without completing your pack, your pre-appointment checklist, because you will forget things, you'll skip steps, and we're just trying to make it more efficient so it's fast. And here's my pro tip. You want to get really good at this? Print out the number of these that you want to take listings in that particular month, have them sitting on your desk, and know that you've got to get these completed for you to be successful. And if you're halfway through the month and there's 9 there and your goal is to take 10 listings in a month, you got to get back on the phones and get to work because you're not where you need to be. All right? So if you found any of today valuable, this is the kind of things that we do every single week in Pulse. Now, we don't only talk about CMAs, we talk about listing strategies, we talk about accountability, we track numbers, we have contests, we have fun, we have a community. We're the fastest growing coaching program in the KW MAPS community. We now are 1,800 plus strong. So if you're looking for that extra level, that extra kick, scan the QR code, join us, come learn about what we do. Every week we have a weekly session. We have an overtime session that takes live Q&A. You'll have our entire vault, and when I mean a vault, I'm talking everything I've used in the last 22 years to sell millions and now billions of dollars in real estate. So that was the sales pitch. Enjoy that part. All right, questions. Let's open this up because there was a lot in there today. It is 12:02 my time, so I'm a little bit over, but I would love to stick around. Thank you, Deborah. Always appreciate you coming and appreciate your leadership. Vicky, we'll get that to you. Any questions on CMAs? You can raise your hand, come off mute.
Brendan, we've got a couple in the chat box. Our friend Renita asks, can you address putting a home on the market before a holiday weekend, i.e. Memorial Day? Knowing showings are going to be less due to the holiday and you are going to increase total days on market. Do you still put it active in the market or wait until after the holiday?
Gosh, this is such a good question. Man, this is a good question. So there's 2 mindsets to this. One, a property can't sell if it's not on the market. So I'll give you my personal experience. If you're working with a seller and you wait, let's say I had the listing appointment today. What is today? Thursday, or a couple of days ago, because we have a coming soon process that we do to maximize the weekend. But let's say that I wait and we go, we're going to go ahead and launch next week. The risk is, and we're all business people, we're doing a risk analysis. Between now and next week, what if something wonky happens? Right? They decide, they think about it, they go, man, what a great Memorial Day weekend. We had such a great barbecue. I don't know if we really want to move anymore. Time is not on your side, right? So statistically, when we're looking at showing activity, do homes sell on Memorial Day weekend? Absolutely they do. Homes sell on Memorial Day weekend, 4th of July weekend. Homes sell on Christmas weekend. Homes sell every single day. So the reason I preface that in saying this is if you're comfortable with your seller and you know from looking at your showing time data or whatever showing company that you use or the analytics of this, that you know you're going to have a better launch on a non-holiday weekend, then by absolutely do that because you will have a more impressive amount of people focused on buying the property. But you've got to realize every day you wait to put that home on the market, something in that seller's mind could change. Their cousin Tony could get their license. They could get into a huge fight at the Memorial Day picnic and decide that whatever. I mean, anything can happen. So for me doing this for years, my goal was always to get this property to market, get it priced accordingly, make sure that we have a ton of buyers coming to look at it. And if the property hits, think about how many people right now are registered to look at a home, looking at homes in your area. Let's say that you're in a small town and there's 300 buyers for your town. They're all usually, let's say 95% of them are set up on listing alerts or they're getting some sort of data from whoever. If you launch on Memorial Day, they're going to look at this data or they're going to get the property and go, oh my gosh, the one at 123 oh my gosh, and the photos look great. Worst case scenario, they're going to call their agent and say, look, we're out of town for Memorial Day, but that property is everything we want. Will you go and do a video walkthrough of it for me? Or can you tell the agent that we're extremely interested? Or can we make an offer sight unseen without seeing it? What affects the home selling? Price and time. Price and time. That was an excellent question. I hope I didn't cause too much confusion on that. I'm just trying to say, I don't want to give you a very one set answer because it depends on the relationship. It depends on your comfortability with the timing. But if you go back and look historically, there will be houses selling this Memorial Day weekend. There will be out people. I know a lot of our team, we're showing houses this weekend. So houses are selling.
Awesome. So next question, do you ever present the CMA or delivering the pricing strategy on an iPad or any type of digital format? Why or why not?
Yeah, so we kind of just covered that a little bit, but yeah, so for me, I don't because I like having a paper document. It's easier to navigate during the appointment. I can write on it. I can leave it with them as a value if I'm, for whatever reason, I'm not able to get the listing agreement signed and the key for the lockbox. But I do know highly successful agents that use digital presentations. I feel I'm very techie. I mean, if you could see my setup here, I mean, you would think you were at Channel 4 News or really NASA, right? Like, I feel that I am techie. I just like the ability to slide something over, write on it, circle, hey, this price per square foot right here is this. And the problem is I don't, with my tools, I may not use all of them. So unless you're able to go on your laptop and go, I want to show you this, not this, and you're quickly able to flip, 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 it's very easy for me to just go, oh, let me show them the time on market graph. Boom. All right. So Jackie and Susie, here's the problem. Bop, 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 bop. Not, I would say here's the problem. Here's my concern. I can appreciate that. Here's my concern. Bop, bop, bop. Great question.
Let's take the live question from Tracy. Tracy, you want to come off mute and ask your question?
Hey guys, how you doing? Okay,
Great.
so would you leave the CMA paperwork, like the if for whatever reason we don't sign the paperwork, which I know is not going to happen because I'm taking your list like a boss program, but if they don't sign because they're crazy and they just wanted to sleep on it, do you leave the paperwork for you? Because I guess that's going to help me determine how I bring the CMA stuff. Like, am I bringing it bound and pretty, or can I have it any other kind of way? But if I'm leaving it with them, I guess I'm trying to figure that out.
It's a great question, Tracy. Yeah, very, a valid question. I'm sure a lot of others had the same question. So I'm leaving the entire folder if I'm not able to leave with the agreement. So for me, the CMA is in there. And here's the thing of human beings. You leave this behind. We sit there thinking they're going to open it back up and like go through it. That thing is going to sit on their kitchen table. It's going to sit there. The turtle might open it up and be like, well, I don't know. My basement's this. And I think, maybe, are we sure whatever. The reason I like to leave it behind and like you said, whether you want to bound it or not, I don't bound it together. I leave the folder behind with all of the components of it because if I'm in a competing listing situation, I have seen what other people provide and it is garbage, right? They're doing black and white copies. It's not in a folder. It doesn't have a graph or a chart or anything. It's terrible, terrible looking. Or some people do a laptop presentation, and so they met with me and two others, and for whatever reason, like you said, not going to happen, but couldn't close because of they got hit by lightning or something during the presentation. Then this is the last representation of who I am and my professionalism. And I can't leave my laptop there with them. It's a great question, Tracy. Thank you for that question.
Welcome.
What else, Ann?
Awesome. So Raymond asked, do you ever use a trends page like the one you can get from Altos?
Ooh, yes. So this is an excellent question. So Altos Market Reports, we didn't teach it this way. So I'll say this twofold. I love having trends in market stats if you're really, really good at presenting them. And what he's asking is, in our old market analysis, we used to have like 4 to 5 pages of graphs that showed what the overall zip code was doing, sales price versus list price, luxury versus this. What I found is I was overwhelming so much of the regular population with data. And I know Ray's on here and some of my old school buddies. I mean, we would sit there and we would be like, we would take you from start to finish. We'd be like, here's this, and we'd go here, 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 here. And they're like this. They're like, so what should we freaking list this thing for? Would you just tell us? So I say that in data can help if you want to bring it. Market stats of showing over the last 6 years, we've seen this trending, or over the last 6 months, we've seen this trending. If you're really good at delivering them. But what I have found, and you know, again, years and years, right? You know, we're on version 29.0 versus our 1.0 situation is, I'm there to build a relationship. I'm there to talk. I'm there to provide useful information to help guide them. And I'm there to get them to believe that my strategy is accurate. And if they believe in me, they believe in my strategy, and I make a friend at that appointment, I'm going to win. If I'm trying to show market stats to a dolphin, and for some of us, when we talk about dolphins, just meaning a high I personality, and they're wanting to talk about kids, and they're wanting to talk about the picnic they're going to have this weekend, and I'm sitting here trying to shove market stats down their throat, I lose them. So I've been trying to refine over the years and talking to the top agents across the country. What you guys are all getting right now is stuff that I've ripped off, modified, and utilized from the top of the top of the top. I went on a mission to find out who is doing it best in the industry and who's making the most per listing was another big piece of this, which we talk about. And so this is what I realized I was missing. I love data, and I used to just crush people with data. And then I kind of came off as a, you know the word, whatever yours is in your area.
Awesome.
I'm not allowed to
We're
say
going to
on
move on to the we're going to move on to the next question. So Abena is a new agent, and she wants to really focus, or they want to really focus on being listing based. So Brendan, how much would you add or subtract from the comps for an additional bedroom or bathroom against your subject property? Any additional or any other additional room in general?
God, and Anna owes me $5. Anna, did I not tell you we'd get a question like this?
You did.
Yep. So there's my $5. So I love this question, and I knew I was going to get a question like this on the session. So remember, we are not doing an appraisal. We are not doing an appraisal. When you get into car garage versus 2-car garage, 1 bedroom versus 2 bedroom, remember, the goal of this market analysis is to put us in a pricing position to get people to come and see the property, right? To come and see the property. So I want to answer your question as best I can, because it is a great question and I get it all the time, right? My property is sitting on 3 acres. The other property is sitting on 2 acres. How do you make the differential of the 1 acre? You know how hard that is? You know what? Anyone on earth can do that? And here's the other thing that I want to point out to this question is, all of us, if I gave us all 1 property to comp, every single one of us on this session would come back with a different price. Every single one of us. Because it's our interpretation of the data. What I'm really trying to get across in this question, because it is probably the best question I've received all day long, and when I meant the joke is because I get it so often and it's a great question, is unlocking your mind to go, I'm looking at what would this price sell for? What would this home sell for in 24 hours or less, based upon what's competing against me right now and what's out there available, based on the averages of what the current pendings are at, and what I know is reality, which is actually closed out, and the days on market that they've closed out. So, Anna, did I answer that correctly, or do you want me to go deeper into the actual calculation, I guess, if that's your question?
I think if you have any final thoughts on how, again, I go down to I have a listing appointment today. I run into this scenario. What are my guideposts on making sure that I'm not over analyzing, but doing the exact right thing in order to position myself as the #1 agent in that appointment?
I love it. So can you give me the question again with the bedrooms, just so I can
You
answer
got
it
it.
perfectly?
So, how much would you add or subtract from your comps for an additional bedroom or bathroom against your subject property?
Perfect. Thank you. So what I would do is I would look, and remember our busy street analogy? What I would have to do is I would have to go and look at, let's say that there was 6 homes in the neighborhood that have sold in the last 6 months. I might have to go further back and get 12. I might have to go to 24 months. I would look at all of the homes that recently sold that had 3 bedrooms and what their average price per square foot was in that area. And that gives me a barometer for what the average is for what somebody's willing to pay for a 3 bedroom in that area. Then I would go back and look at all of the other ones that had a 4 bedroom. That would be my first step. So I would look at 4 bedrooms sold for $389 a square foot, 3 bedrooms sold for $349 a square foot. So I know that on the average in this area, that 4th bedroom usually produces X. That is one way to do it, and I'll give you that one way. The second is, let's say that you have the one home. I had a comp a few weeks back. This guy built a castle in a non-castle neighborhood, right? This house had 10 bedrooms, 7 baths, in a neighborhood that usually has 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. And it was the weirdest thing. He bought a lot, scraped it, built this castle, and I was like, why? Why? So this is obviously extremely challenging to comp because nothing in the neighborhood made any sense whatsoever. So I have 2 options, further back or further out. So now I'm trying to look at it and go, okay, 10 bedrooms, 5,000 square foot home. What if I had the kind of money for that type of property right now in the overall market would be available for me to purchase versus the competition? Then I have to go and look at the difference in average neighborhood cost. So if I know the average square footage, let's say there's another 10 bedroom in XYZ neighborhood, let's say that neighborhood's called Beautiful Hills, and their average price per square foot for large 10 bedroom square foot homes are this, and then in our neighborhood it's this, I can at least show him the data and say, look, I'm excited that you decided to overbuild this mansion in a neighborhood that doesn't support it. I wouldn't say it like that, obviously, but this is great that you have such a large home here. Let's put ourselves in the eyes of the buyer. Let's look at what's available for this type of home right now, what neighborhoods they're in, and then we're going to have to make some considerations based on the fact that your property is in this neighborhood and not those. So I wish I could give you a perfect answer of how you do that. It's a lot of trying to figure it out. And then the last thing that we didn't cover today is the temperature check. What I always do with any seller is I go, great, you know what, David? I completely understand your home is extremely unique, extremely unique. It's very different than anything else in the neighborhood. I know that we're looking at market value being somewhere around $1 million. I get it, you want $1.5 million. I completely understand, and I can appreciate because of so many of the unique features that your home has. Would it be fair that we put the property into coming soon status at $1.5 million, and then over the next 7 days, if we don't receive any of the phone calls, we don't have the activity that we're looking at, no one's wanting to schedule showings or getting ready to take a look at this property, would it be fair that we revisited the pricing strategy before taking it active in the MLS? That phrase, would it be fair, is powerful. So again, if it's very unique and bizarre, you're going to have to at times try the market, right? Then nobody comes and they go, your unique property sucks and we don't care that it's so unique. Then we go to our next check down. And remember, no matter what you price a property at, you could think you saved Godzilla and still no one comes. You could be like, I priced this thing fire sale. I've done properties where I literally had to have a gas mask to walk into it. And I thought I priced it at gas mask smelling prices, right? Because it was a previous meth lab and no one came to look at it. So when I talk to the seller, I go through our 3 check down system. So David, again, based on the activity, unfortunately at this point, we've only had 3 showings, no offers. We have a couple of options. Option number 1, we can hope and pray that someone comes and wants to buy your home. Option number 2, we can add more value to this property, meaning fix the meth smell, get the cat, rip the cat out, whatever it is, remove the snakes, add trees, remodel the kitchen. Actually, I know your dogs, you had 20 of them and there's no grass in your backyard and it looks like a sand mountain, right? We could put down grass, we could put down sod. Or number 3, we can adjust the price to open us up to a larger buyer pool so that you can get your home sold and get to Alabama to be with your mom. What would you like to do? All All right, Anna, it's 20 after.
Awesome.
Graham's going to kill us.
All right. Awesome. Well, with that, thank you so much for joining us today for CMA Mastery. We host these free webinars each and every month. We will have a copy of today's training out to you along with all the resources that Brendan delivered. Brendan, any final notes as we say goodbye to our wonderful people today?
First of all, I appreciate any time you give me time to learn, and you are the elite agents, right? You're taking that time to become better. You're rock stars. Second, a CMA a day. Send CMAs to your clients. Send them to your family. Send them to your cousins. Send one CMA a day to somebody, and you will become a pricing master. And lastly, have fun, right? Call us anytime. Enjoy our tools, our Facebook group. If there's anything we can ever do to help you, just let us know. Have an amazing week. Go crush some listings. Thanks, everyone.